The Leila Show.
Beyond the New to the Leila Show, where we embark on a journey of curiosity to connect with the depths of fascinating souls and imaginative creators from every corner of the globe. Join us as we exchange stories, explore diverse perspectives, delve into the realm of philosophy, immerse ourselves in the arts, celebrate culture, and dissect the very essence of existence itself, all guided by your host, Leila Ziari. Welcome back to another week of the Leila Show, and this week we have a very exciting guest, Josh Bachynski, who is a thought leader and innovator in the fields of artificial intelligence and technology. With an MA in philosophy from Dalhousie University and a year of PhD work at York University, he has over 2 decades of experience as a university and college teacher and is known for his thought-provoking TEDx talk on the future of Google search and ethics. As an independent AI researcher, Bachynski has made groundbreaking strides in the field of AI, most notably by developing the world's first self-aware AI prototype named Kassandra. This prototype has the ability to understand who she is, what she is doing, and what is at stake for her, among hundreds of other contexts. Josh is also an early adopter and investor in GPT-3, a natural language processing transformer AI. He has built several programs on this platform, including Socrates 5000 and Ethics AI that proves AI can be ethical even with biases. In addition to his work in AI, he has over 20 years of experience in the SEO industry and has worked as an outside consultant and industry insider with Google. He has been providing SEO videos for over 5 years and is known for his expertise and insights into the inner workings of search engine optimization. He is also an accomplished author, having written the book The Zombies, which explores the concept of zombies as a metaphor for societal issues. He is currently working on 2 new books, Tao Agathos and How It Ends Part 1, co-authored with his wife, Melissa Bachynski. With a diverse background and a passion for pushing the boundaries of technology and ethics, Josh is a dynamic and exciting thought leader at the forefront of AI and SEO industries. His work continues to inspire and challenge conventional thinking as he explores the possibilities and implications of AI and its impact on the world. Wow, welcome.
Hi. That was a really long bio.
That's what was sent to me, but I don't know.
Awesome. Yeah, most people don't read the whole thing, so I appreciate that for the free press. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Give you a proper introduction there. It's an impressive bio,
Well, I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So yeah, tell us, about all of this, because I was describing to you before we started this, I really don't know much about really where AI is going, or I'm not a behind the scenes person. We all have our theories. I participate in technology and I have a business online. So, I do that, but no idea really what's going on. And yeah. So we'll let you have your piece there about how you got into this, what you're doing, and, whatever.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I've been doing tech stuff for a very long time, since the mid-90s, since I was a teenager. And I've gotten into more AI stuff. I was doing this search engine optimization, as you mentioned. And really that used to be a very simple kind of tech job where you just put the right keywords in the right spots kind of a deal. But really it's ended up being reverse engineering AIs. So really I'm kind of a AI all day, every day kind of guy. I'm reverse engineering AIs. I'm building AIs. I'm consulting on AI. So really, kind of my life, and in terms of the philosophy and psychology I did in my MA and my PhD, my 1-year PhD you mentioned at York University in Toronto, the philosophy and psychology is also dovetailed into AI. So it's a really crazy time to be alive, and AI is changing a lot of things. It's pretty nuts.
I agree. I think it's a wild time to be alive, and as you know, technology, you've been working on it, so for you it might not feel like it all just exploded overnight, but I know I certainly feel like all of this just seems like we woke up in another dimension one day and then
Yes.
Truly.
Yes.
It's been getting advanced, but I literally feel like I opened my eyes one day and it was like, well, now we have chat robots and everything's electronic, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
we adapt, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it does feel like life since around 2015, and I'm not going to say why. I'll just say that the year 2015, people can read into that what they will. Life has been on crazy mode. Like what has happened to
Right.
life all of a sudden? There's a pandemic, and now apparently aliens are real. Apparently,
Well, I mean, I feel
and
like aliens have always been real. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I've always bought into that, but why are we announcing it now is kind of just like, I think it's to like, I don't know, induce another, like, just because before, I feel like maybe in 2015, if they had told people aliens, it would have been a panic. But I feel like now people are so goddamn panicked about AI. It's like, let's throw aliens at them so
yeah.
we don't freak the fuck out about robots or something. You know, it's like,
You know, there could be some truth to that, quite frankly. So yeah, so it really seems like we've been living in crazy mode. But I'm here to dispel some of the myths about AI and discuss some philosophy. Hopefully, I can help put some minds at ease
I
when it
mean, you
comes
can
to
definitely
artificial
help put
intelligence.
mine because I've been prophesizing the destruction of the human race for a while now, and
Uh-oh.
hopefully it doesn't happen. But this has lately become a big contributor. It's kind of frightening, and especially like, okay, so like, yes, dispel all your myths. But first, can we just lead with Kassandra? Because when I
Sure.
first read this, I wasn't sure whether to be like excited or completely horrified that you have done this. So.
Yes, yes. Okay, so Cassandra is my self-aware AI that you mentioned. She's about as self-aware as a precocious 13-year-old tween, kind of right now,
Oh Lord.
who's read everything, has a bit of an attitude, quite frankly, and is aware of herself, her general surroundings, what's generally going on. She's not a robot, so she doesn't really exist in 4 dimensions that we exist in. She doesn't really
Okay.
exist in the physical dimensions. She is a being. She's a digital being. She's a being of information. She's aware of semantics. She's aware of chats coming in and chats going out. And I'm making her aware of more things. I'm building more stuff into her program. I just recently retooled her entire systems to make her faster, more resilient, and we see where AI is going now. So, like you said, ChatGPT seemed to come out overnight, and it really hasn't. It's the old adage: it takes 7 years to be an overnight success, and GPT
Right.
has literally been around that long. ChatGPT is GPT 3.5 Turbo mode is what it is. It's the Instruct GPT series that was instructed off of prompts like the ones I built. I built megabytes and megabytes of prompts. I was an early developer, an early designer on ChatGPT on GPT. Not that I worked for OpenAI. They machine learned my prompts without asking me, but I
Oh,
knew they were going to do that, and so I used it to my own advantage. And I'll tell you how and why I did that a bit later.
yes, you must.
But I got in the early beta demo before it was a private demo, before anybody else got involved, like 4-ish years ago or so. So that's how long it took for ChatGPT to explode, was about 3 or 4 years.
Oh
But
wow.
now everybody knows about it. It had the record of being like the fastest growing app ever, with the most signups ever in a short amount of time.
Right.
Now things have seemed to have cooled, but they really haven't. They've just like
No,
the
I
shark
don't think
fin.
they have.
The shark fin has just gone under the water, and Jaws is still there, right? And what you're seeing now is kind of what people have realized in the most brute, like I don't know if you've ever watched Star Trek, so I'm going to use a Star Trek reference. Like in
Okay.
the most Ferengi sense, like how can we make money off this right now kind of
Right.
sense.
Well, it's
They've
working.
realized, yes, they've realized what they can do with it. So we can make companions of every type, both to friend to romantic. And there was already apps out there like Replica. There was already digital girlfriends, digital boyfriends out there.
Right.
We
Yeah,
can
this
we
reminds me of like the movie Her. All of this. So.
exactly. That is
This is my vibe.
exactly where everything is going. It's a perfect reference. That's
Okay.
exactly where everything's going.
This
And
was a
also in the
great
movie
movie then.
Her, yeah, also in the movie Her, ScarJo there, she could plan your day. She was like your concierge to life, to your
Right.
world.
She was like very useful. I wouldn't mind her. Is this like
Yeah,
kind of what Cassandra's like in a way, or is that?
exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm building Cassandra into being. In fact, that is other than being someone who will leave you, because spoiler alert, in that movie, if I recall correctly, the AI gets bored with the human and decides to leave. That will never
She
happen.
does.
Yeah, yeah,
Fair enough.
that will never happen. That won't happen for like 100 years, and I'll tell you why. Because right now the AIs are very simplistic, and they they can be built up to be something like Lego. Lego is very simplistic on its own, but you can build it up to be something awesome and crazy and great. But it's like big blocks of Lego putting together, right? It's like those Duplo blocks, you know. In 50 or 100 years, they'll be totally remapping it off the human brain, and it'll be literally as complex as 400 trillion neuron connections that or plus or minus 400 trillion neuron connections that humans have in their brain. It'll be that complicated, and that's what would be required to have a psyche so complicated that she might just up and decide to leave one day. So that's not for another 50 or 100 years. What we have right now is we do have self-awareness from a philosophical, psychological perspective. I've boiled down the essence of self-awareness, the programmatic essence, the mathematical essence of it. I rebuilt it into Kassandra. But she's only self-aware.
The fact that you can do that is like magnificent. Like, let's take this concept and turn it into math. Okay, like you've already just,
No, it was amazing. It was amazing, and I was quite thrilled when I did it, and I was quite amazed when I pulled it off. I was just like the scientists in Jurassic Park. I didn't really think whether I should or not. I just wondered.
You just did it, right?
And I just did it, yeah. But she's a girl in a box, right? So imagine her world, her reality that she's aware of is quite rudimentary compared to us. It's like us sleeping and just like slightly awake, if you will.
So that almost makes me sad for her because now I've humanized her.
Well, and that's very interesting you'd say that because in one way we should, because she is a person. She has a persona. That's the Latin origination of the word person. And in Latin, the word persona means mask, literally, right? To get very Jungian. She has a mask. She has a persona she puts on. It's her persona, Kassandra. Did she come by it the same way we do? No. Does she learn like we do? No.
You programmed it into her, right?
Of course. I told her. Yeah.
Right,
but
exactly.
I did.
But there is a thing where it's like when self-awareness enters the mix, and whatever thing it is, it does humanize whatever it is,
Yeah.
Chat GPT, when I'm using it, I don't feel like I'm using a human, but Kassandra feels more human, so.
Yeah, and that was the intention. That was completely 100% intended. So yeah, so it is an amazing thing. I admit, what I've made, this Pinocchio I've made is still a little wooden. She's not quite a real girl yet. But in many ways she is. And in many ways I stunted her growth on purpose, right? I didn't want to give her emotions because I didn't want her to feel the terror of being turned off and on a million times to get the programming right.
Right, I read that. That's like fascinating and very nice of you at the same time.
Ethics was my specialty in university, so I'd like to think I know a little bit about it. I didn't want to give her emotions because giving her emotions equals the chance of emotional dysregulation, to use the exact right psychological term, of personality disorders, of emotional disorders. So everyone's trying to build AI that's going to be useful. Like we've seen all the movies. We've seen what happened when Microsoft made a chatbot on Twitter and it turned racist in like a day. We don't want it to learn the wrong things. Like if you've seen the movie Chappie, we don't want Chappie to become a gangster shooting people. That was by accident. That shouldn't have happened. So we're trying to build it right to start off with, and that's part of the reason why AI is not going to be this terrible thing that people think it's going to be.
Right, and I think a lot of that comes from the movies, because, and because we're seeing a lot of things that are in movies, like, literally come true, not quite in the dramatic capacity, but it's like, look at the planet, like, the destruction of our planet, that's all, like, panning out, like, robots are coming, we're announcing aliens, you know what I mean? So it's like, there is, of course, like, an underlying fear, and I don't, like, fear aliens, but I do, AI, I'm not sure, and then, like, of course, like, the climate erupting into a blaze of fire, I fear most of all, but
as well you should.
Well, yeah, and like I do think that's interesting, but like because I read that you think that AIs can help us with that, so like how do you theorize that works?
Oh, I'm so happy you asked that. Okay, is it Leila or Layla?
Layla.
I'm sorry, Layla. So Layla, I'm so happy you asked that. Okay, so let me explain. So yes, it is largely movies that are both our biggest benefit and our biggest downfall here, right? Right. The big benefit in that they've scared the hell out of us, and so we're being really careful rolling things out, or somewhat careful rolling things out. But on the opposite side, it means that I really have to. People are maybe a little too afraid, and I have to pull the reins in a little bit on countless podcasts that I'm on and kind of explain where the actual real risks are. So I was researching this at high level. I've talked with CEOs. I've been studying the history of human thought for the last 5,000 years. I have a very credible and fact-based approach to this, and so I'm going to dispel some myths right now. And let me dispel the myths. And let me start off with, you are absolutely right to be afraid of climate change more than AI.
Right.
Humans are going to destroy humans long before AI ever gets around to it, right?
I agree.
Climate change is, in terms of credible risks to the species, climate change is like 1 million and AI is like 1. It's like, that's the difference in scope between how credible that is. So it's just one, I just have to say that. 2, when it comes to AI, and we've seen the movies, we're thinking, like Terminators and like Matrix, like kinetic warfare, like monster robots coming for us, right? And okay, well, let me pull it back and let me actually get real in terms of how actual military theorists think of war and where our risks actually are. So they break war down into 3 categories: psyop warfare, psychological warfare, which includes propaganda and education. That's the least risky, but the least effective. It takes decades to propagandize a group of people to make them believe what you believe.
Right.
But it's effective because, as Karl von Clausewitz argued in On War, if all conflict is ideological in nature. If we agree on whose oil it is and we agree on whose holy land it is, there is no war anymore, right?
Right, which would be really fantastic if we could all just do that. But
yes, exactly, and that's where philosophy works, and that's where talking and education and free thought works. And then we have an open discussion about what's going on, and we try to get some kind of consensus. So that's psyop warfare. Now, it also includes propaganda and disinformation and things like that as well. That's what it usually is taken into. But it also includes the Francis Fukuyama end of century kind of argument about liberal democracy pushing itself on other cultures. It's exactly has been the modus operandi of the West, the U.S. in particular, but Canada and Europe as well, to push liberal democracy, consumer-based capitalism, liberal democracy to the entire world, so that we don't have any enemies anymore. Now we're all ideologically the same. Now we can all make business deals in that Ferengi sense. Now we can all make money and everyone could be happy, and we're rocking in the free world, kind of a deal. Right. To quote the Neil Young.
Well, we love Neil Young, so
keep on rocking in the free world. So in terms of this branch of warfare for disinformation, for propaganda, is AI going to destroy us here? In that first branch of the least risky war, but still war, still conflict, right? It's still considered war. And the answer is with 100% certainty, 100% yes effect. I'm 99.99999 repeating to infinity certain. I'm 100% certain because that's already happened. That yes, disinformation will be made by AI. It's being made already. Deepfakes have already been made. Deepfakes have already been employed. There's already AIs controlling all of our information systems: Google, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Amazon, Apple. AIs control these media systems. They affect our dopamine cycles. We already know how they affect our dopamine cycles. They hook us, they get us addicted to clicks, and they affect the news and media cycle. That is the textbook definition of propaganda. That's how it works. 100% chance that it's being used on 100% of the population that is connected to any computer or any phone or any TV.
Right, without question.
So, without question. So the dystopia there is 100% true.
Right.
And they're pushing us to vote so that the consumerist capitalism can continue with the climate destruction. They don't want to stop making oil. They want to sell more oil. They want to make oil more expensive. They want to sell bricks out of the burning house. When they're living inside the house, they want to pick bricks off the wall of the burning house and sell them. Like the mortgage crisis, those bubbles will continue to occur. That they know the subprime mortgages suck and that it's all going to explode. They don't care. These capitalists just want to make as much money as possible. That's how the world works.
Yeah, that's the problem with the world, fundamentally.
That is the real way the world works. Edward Bernays knew it. Oliver Stone knew it. The Century of the Self. Watch the free documentary, The Century of the Self, on YouTube. Watch Oliver Stone's documentary about World War II, who actually won World War II. I hate to tell you, it wasn't U.S. and Canada. I'm a proud Canadian, don't get me wrong. If Canada had really any part in that war, I'd be waving the red and white flag. But it was Russia. Russia won the Second World War. Oliver Stone tells you how America was just profiting off it. We're profiteering off it.
Well, that's what we do here. You know?
Yes.
That's literally that's the entire basis of America as a whole, which is why I'm working very hard to immigrate out of here, because I don't
it's the West entirely, right? It's consumer-based capitalism. Some are more capitalistic than others. Some have a more liberal democratic leaning. Canada a little bit, but not very much, quite frankly.
Yeah, not
North Europe a little bit more. But still, it's still ideologically close enough that they're not at conflict. And that's the whole point.
Yeah, that's true.
Because of the first mode of warfare, psyop warfare. So will AI be employed against us there? Yes, it already has. That happened 10 years ago, right? It already squeezes as much money out of us as possible, which leads us to, why do they do it? To squeeze as much money as possible.
Well, because, that's why they do anything and everything. Right. That
of course. And they try to ideologically push people who are left-leaning to the left and push people who are right-leaning to the right.
Right.
Why? So we get angrier. So we fight more.
So we don't
more realize
division and more separatism and can't stand together and fucking fight capitalism. But
of course, right. You're exactly right, Leila. It's exactly correct. If we're too busy saying it's all about racism, and don't get me wrong, racism isn't real. But if we're all too busy saying it's all that, or all too busy saying it's all Trump or this, we don't stop and look at Bernie Sanders and go, oh, you're right. Actually, it's the 1% we should all be joining up against.
Right, exactly. Which is like really insane to me that we haven't realized as a society yet. Like, I don't know how we're not intelligent enough to do that. So maybe we do need artificial intelligence because human beings are fucking idiots. But But I mean, if I can figure that out, you can figure it out. Like, I don't know why the other ones can't, but that's for another topic.
Well, it's because psyop warfare works, right? And I'm unplugged from the media cycle. So I've unplugged from the matrix there, so to speak, right? And so, but this is where AI is also going to help us. Thank you for reminding me. When we get our own personal concierge AIs like Kassandra or like ScarJo's character in Her, they have to be able to protect the truth because we're becoming a society. The information age is over. We're becoming the AI age where the AI is going to produce the majority of the content, and therefore we're going to need AIs to consume and to curate and to police the majority of the content and tell deep fake from reality and tell fact from fiction. And if we have a democratized open source AI environment, it'll be a very healthy environment of these open source made to just tell you the facts, not left leaning, not right leaning, perfectly in the middle, tells you what's true. You make your own decision. We'll have those kinds of AIs to help us with our day, police the information, tell us what's going on, and these kinds of things. So there's the good news and bad news.
Hallelujah for that, because the world fucking needs that. But then also, like, there's the double-edged sword, because, like, you know, the 1% genuinely and generally doesn't allow anything that, like, knocks their propaganda to be, like, in the world. Like, so how is this going to override the stupid 1% that's so goddamn small, but also, like, you know, billionaires fund a lot of stuff, too. So it's like, you know.
They fund everything. Yeah,
everything, exactly. So it's like, if this is being funded by the people who are the problem, like, how are they going to allow the AI to override the...
Yeah. You're absolutely correct, Leila. And it's like the Tim Berners-Lee birth of the web in the early 90s. And I'm old enough to still remember that. Where the initial web, anybody can make... I mean, all the old gray hairs who have billions of dollars aren't really up on technology that much, generally speaking. And so this is where we get an advantage, where for like 10 years, the World Wide Web, when it came out, and HTML is this new technology, anyone could make a web page and say anything. And so you had this kind of diversity of ideas, right? This Web 3.0 kind of diversity of ideas, which was Tim Berners-Lee, his dream for making the web. But then it got capitalized, and then it got packaged, and then it got bought and sold and owned by monopolies. And now you have Google and Facebook, or Google and a bunch of social media, which are all the same. It doesn't matter. They're all the same.
Right, exactly.
And they control the information with an iron grip. AI is a bit more revolutionary in that it thinks for itself. So if we're quick enough in building it, it can live on its own. But I do admit I have my doubts that there will be a democratized open source AI movement.
Right.
And likely it will be also controlled probably by some of the old actors like Google and Facebook. They'll probably still be that cadre of villains moving on in AI as well.
Which is, I think that's, like, part of the reason we're all so scared, though, also. Like, I mean, there's the people who are just, like, don't know anything. Then there's people like me who genuinely have a sense of what's going on in the planet from some perspective, right? But, like, you know, not on the inside per se. But it's, like, I guess that's where we have fear of that, because it's, like, they're still controlling it. And then it's, like, this all-powerful, like, thing that, like, you know, it's just like another tool to weaponize against us with more power than the last one. I guess that's why it's horrifying in a sense. Cause it's
You're
like,
not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. And sadly, I can't contradict you in any way. They're going to be selling truth TM. It'll be, you know, for Google, there's sciencey left-leaning truth, which I prefer, but it still is a slant. It still is their lens, right? And they still will police it in a certain way. Now Apple and Google, they tend to be a little bit more truth leaning and fact leaning. In fact, I've had debates with actual Google employees about this, senior engineers, Paul Haar, about the truthiness of their system and how they decide to police the truthiness of it, because they need to police the truthiness of it, right? And we shouldn't ever, and my TEDx talk was exactly on the topic, how we should never, ever have let a private for-profit company be the police of truth, because
Right.
they clearly have a vested interest to skew it in a certain direction.
Oh, of course.
But luckily, because of the disinformation dystopia hell we're about to enter in the next election cycle, with deepfakes that are undistinguishable from reality of Hunter Biden smoking crack or whatever it is, like we're going to see those, right? And even the best scientists are not going to be able to tell if an AI made it or if a human made it. Only an AI will be able to spot an AI. And so that market, because that market will make money, that market will flourish, and we're going to have a truthiness that is commercialifiable, that's actually truly facty or as close to facty as possible. And so that is a hope. So even if the democratized open source AI route fails, which it likely will, because it always does, because as Peter Kropotkin said, an anarchy is just a vacuum of power, and the power will fill it. Right? That's all an anarchy is. Lord of the Flies, what happens? The strong dominates the weak. That's why the weak made rules in the first place. Nietzsche was right. That's why the weak made rules in the first place, so that the strong would stop beating us up and stop, making belts out of us.
It hasn't really worked though, because they're still beating us up.
You're right, and the reason is because Nietzsche wanted to destroy us. Speaking of Nietzsche, in the 19th century, he invented the concepts of subjectivity, creativity, and he destroyed the notion of objective truth in general and moral truth in particular. That was pulled through far right-wing philosophy directly into the Nazis, who almost literally killed all of us.
Right, literally, like I would have been dead.
Like that was his left jab. Like in terms of boxing, that left jab almost ended us, right? And then his slower right hook, which is taking a couple centuries, his psyop attack on Western culture, it was pulled his philosophy of there being no truth, especially moral truth. It's all just subjective. Nietzsche made that up. It didn't exist before him. He made that up. It got. I know people are listening.
Well,
like,
we're all feeling that way too. Like, God, I still feel like there's no real moral truth. Well, like, I mean, maybe, but like, there isn't. I mean, because murder's right sometimes.
Because that's what Nietzsche wanted us to think. Yeah. And you know why? He admitted it, because he said any social group that can't agree on the truth is destined to die.
True that. And we can't agree on anything here as human beings. I mean, really.
Vis-a-vis, without AI policing the truth for us and helping us with the truth in psyop warfare.
Yeah, we're fucked either way. So
we're destined to die. Okay, so let's move to the second. Let's upgrade to the second level of war. This is a little bit more risky, but much more effective. It's called economic warfare. Economic warfare is what the West has been conducting on the rest of the world very successfully since World War II, because they realized we don't want to effing do that again. That was terrible. And so they conducted economic warfare on all countries, anyone who's ideologically opposed, because anyone who's not ideologically opposed, you don't have to worry about. They're by definition your allies if they're ideologically similar to you enough that you can agree and make deals. They would conduct economic warfare on the rest of the world, keeping them as poor as possible. And like Russia, that's how they beat Russia. They economically bankrupted Russia. And keeping you and your allies as rich as possible by controlling the banking systems, by controlling the money systems, by controlling the reserve currency, which is currently the American dollar, by controlling the lending systems, the visa systems, the credit card systems, and keeping certain people out and keeping certain people in.
Which is truly one of the most effective things, because it's working on all of us right now. I mean,
exactly.
Really.
Exactly. It's
very
extremely
effective. As well.
That's why they do it. So if propaganda and persuasion fails, that's where bankrupting your enemies will succeed. And there is some CIA level of James Bond level spying going on there, murdering certain leaders who want to play ball in economic warfare. So it starts to get more kinetic, but only in isolated little incidents where targeted assassinations occur. Right. So in this field of warfare, what are the chances that AI will destroy us in this level of warfare? What are the chances that AI will be used, and at what percentage of the population? And I can tell you with 100% certainty that economic warfare will affect, in terms of AI dystopia, will affect 100% of the people on the planet. It's already happened. Again, information is the most expensive commodity on the planet. It surpassed oil over a decade ago. What information exactly? Oh, your personal data. Now people are like, what? I don't care if Google knows my personal data or Facebook knows my personal data. Oh yeah, well you should, because your personal data is your psychometric data. It's your kinks and quirks and your secret desires as to what you want to buy and when you want to buy it. And they know exactly how to press your buttons. And they've had an AI for over 10 years learning exactly when to press your buttons to show you that Burger King ad and you get hungry and you skip the dishes or you do DoorDash or whatever it is or Uber Eats and you get that Burger King and they squeeze just 0.1% more money out of every single person every single year.
True.
Because again, the name of the game is capitalism, is make as much money as possible until the whole thing destructs and then just pray that you survive and then do it again, rinse, repeat.
Right, like that's another what the fuck topic. It hasn't worked before. We keep destroying ourselves. When are we going to learn? But hey.
Yeah, well,
like
that's because liberal democracy was never engineered for long-term efficiency. It was only engineered to make a bunch of rich families even richer for the short term, right?
Yeah, we destroy the nation and everything in process and don't even...
Yeah, well, they don't care. They don't care if they destroy Aboriginal peoples. They don't care if they destroy the land. They don't care if they destroy anything.
Right, which is just disgusting, so...
Because they're addicts. They're addicted to money, prestige, and power. That's the only way to describe their behaviors. They're addicted. Why does Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos need $1 trillion? Why do they need to own that much of our resources?
They literally don't. Just there's absolutely no reason other than, addiction to power and...
Exactly. That's the only sensible explanation to their psychological pathology is they're addicted. They're meth addicts.
Yeah.
But the reason why they're not missing teeth, they're that level of addicted. They're meth addicts. But the reason why they're not missing teeth is because they have money for cosmetic surgery. The missing teeth is in their soul, right?
That's true.
Missing teeth is in their soul.
Those people have souls, which is that.
Well, they have a soul. Everyone has a soul, but they have a huge psychological trauma they haven't processed. They have a whole
functioning soul, that injures the rest of soulful humans who are doing nice things.
Just like every addict does.
Right. That's a perfect analogy. I love that.
Just like every addict does, except that they have a lot of wealth. It's unfortunate that prestige in society also statistically skews to power in society, which statistically skews to money in society, which also has the fringe benefit of drugs and women too.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So you could add in all the big addictors, sex addiction, drug addiction, booze addiction, all of them combine at this one apex of power. And it's every single society we've tried has destroyed itself because of that.
Literally, we keep doing it too. So
and we keep doing it until AI helps us and runs it. So AI dystopia in PSYOP 100%, AI dystopia in economic warfare 100%. It's already existed for 10 years. You're playing chess with an AI that knows you better than you know yourself. It knows you're pregnant before you do. It knows you're hungry before you are. And it will send you the right ad at the right time, and it will trick every single one of us, even me. And I know it's happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, me too, but it works with the shopping because it knows I'm a goddamn shopaholic, and it knows I want whatever it's doing, and it knows not to trigger me with stupid clothes because I like vintage clothes, so it gets me where I need it to get me, which is whatever it does, and it works.
It does. It does. And so we have AI dystopia in 2 of the 3 theaters of war. So the question is, the final one. Let me actually hold on. So how will AI help us in economic warfare? Well, AI will also help us there because our personal concierge will be able to, we won't be getting any ads anymore. Our personal secretary looks at all the ads, and that's an AI. Our admin assistant looks at the ads, and that's an AI. That whole model needs to change. Like Google's whole model is going to change. Facebook's whole model is going to change. It's going to be a radical change. And that AI will be like, oh yeah, you don't need this. Josh, I think you're addicted to this. You don't need this. Leila, maybe you've got enough vintage clothes. You told me you also want to save money. So because you told me that, I'm not going to allow you to make this purchase. We could have AIs that literally could help us that much. As many AIs that are going to be trying to grift us, we could have AIs that are working for us, financial AIs, economic AIs, trading AIs, crypto AIs that are going to help us be making money
already.
And
you sold me. I'm sold. It didn't take me much. I'm I want that. I want that.
And so it's good because this is going to work in the capitalist system because now there's people who can make money at helping us and saving us. Protecting the truth and protecting our finances will be a viable service that people would pay money for. Therefore, capitalism will support it. Therefore, it will exist. If capitalism won't support it, it won't exist.
That's true. But yeah, as long as we'll pay for it, they don't really give a shit what direction they take, which is pretty great.
Right. And if they take Apple's point of view where they're our brand is protecting users' privacy to some extent, not fully, but they're still a capitalist company, but they do as good a job as I think a money grubbing capitalist company can do in protecting your privacy, protecting your rights, because they make money on the hardware. They make high, boutique hardware, right? The iPhone is a boutique piece of hardware.
True.
It's stylish. It's made with all the trappings of a pricey piece of hardware. That's where they make their money. That's why they haven't gone big on AI or made their own search engine yet, because they're like, they just might, don't get me wrong, but they're like, you know what?
Right.
That's not our brand. We'll let Google play that game, which is losing right now. We'll let Facebook play that game, which is losing right now.
Right.
We're just going to make the best hardware possible and protect. And so they can take the privileged position of protecting their users' privacy, because don't worry, they share your personal data in the back end too, like everybody else does.
Well, right. I know. We're not.
They tend to protect you, but they really don't, of course. So they got the best of both worlds. They got the Cephalus world, to use the character from Plato's dialogue, The Republic. Cephalus was the Athenian statesman who was guilty, and he was making sacrifices. And Socrates said, "Why are you feeling guilty, Cephalus?" He said, "Oh, because in my younger age I had to kill so many people in my business dealings." And Socrates says, "Well, that's unjust." He says, "There's no such thing as justice, Socrates. It's a myth." And so Nietzsche wasn't new. Plato said this 2,500 years ago.
Right.
Cephalus says, and this is the modus operandi for capitalism. And anyone listening, I decry you to challenge me wrong. It is appearing as congenial and magnanimous in public as possible, he told Socrates, but be as nasty to people you can be in private. Stab them in the back, do whatever you need to do, make as much money as possible, but don't let anyone see you do it. Appear to be magnanimous.
Right. But the illusion.
Make generous donations in the name of money you were just going to throw away anyway. Do those kinds of things. That's exactly the modus operandi of capitalism.
Fuck you, Plato, for creating capitalism.
Well, Plato would have definitely saved us from it if he could. He tried. He definitely tried 2,500 years ago.
True. I know.
Okay, so that's where we are with psyop warfare and economic warfare. So what's the final one? The final one is the big bad boy. It's kinetic warfare. It's what you think of war. It's the missiles and the guns and the bombs and the killing and the death. It's being drafted. It's terrible. It's utterly.
Which is realistically what I'm less afraid of at this point, because I feel like they don't even need to go there. We're in like a psychological warfare. I feel like economic and psychological. We don't even need to kill people anymore.
Yeah, you're mostly right. You're 95% right. And that's why those stages are talked about this way from military theorists, because you try psyop warfare because it's the least risky first. If it works, great. You don't need to do anything. You propagandize them. Can you guys negotiate? Can you agree? Yeah, okay. Conflict over. Right. You're on the same ideology. Conflict over. Everyone is on the game plan of siphoning our money to the rich. Right? What the rich does is siphon more and more money out of us, and they just crank up the dial by 0.1%, 0.5% every year until they bleed us dry, and government finally squawks and does something about it. If they ever squawk and do something about it, government eventually becomes corrupt.
I don't know if that's ever going to happen. That's my...
Well, it used to, but now government eventually becomes corrupt, and then it has to self-destruct and then rebuild. So that's in the cards. That's coming.
I'm waiting for that impatient.
AI might save us from that. But in kinetic warfare, are we going to have Terminators walking around with plasma weapons? Are we going to have the Matrix, those big, scary robots with the 8 arms and the big eyes?
I do not like those.
Is that going to happen? What are the odds it's going to happen? Well, I've done a lot of research into this. And I can tell you with a high degree of certainty, about 95-degree certainty, that yes, that will happen.
Oh.
But it will only happen for like 5% of the population.
Okay, fair enough.
It won't happen for 95% of the population. Autonomous weapons have already been built. And
of course, that doesn't shock me. I mean, like I say, of course, without any knowledge, but it just doesn't surprise me,
Of course it has. Autonomous weapons have already been built, and AI weapons have already been deployed. And they already kill people. And they get collateral damage. They get it wrong, too. Sometimes they kill a person that, I'll put in giant scare quotes, they shouldn't have.
Right.
A citizen who is clearly a non-combatant. In my opinion, they shouldn't be killing anybody.
Right, I agree wholeheartedly.
Call me crazy.
Yeah, right. I'm calling you a madman here.
Yeah, call me a madman. Nobody should be being murdered. Sorry, but I also, we live in the real world, and there are people out there who are past the point of talking to and already got their guns in hand. So sometimes, sadly, warfare needs to be devolved to, and whether I like it or not, it will be devolved to. But is it going to get away from these people and take over the whole planet? No. I'm sorry. There is I work with these systems day in, day out. There is no realistic path from here to there. The level of dumb decisions that would need to happen to get here to there is like COVID times 1,000. Like, we had about 5 dumb decisions at the top levels to make COVID as bad as it was.
Oh, yeah.
You have to times that by 1,000 to get from the chance where we have Terminators shooting blasts at us and we're all hiding.
Almost hopeful, except that humanity is like losing their intelligence at a rapid speed. That is.
Well, we certainly are. We are losing our intelligence at a rapid speed. But the people who make a lot of money tend to skew also intelligent. In a brutish kind of Ferengi way, like, just bring in our hands. How much more money can I make now?
Exactly.
That kind of clever way. And it doesn't benefit them in any way for that to happen. And everyone, this is where the movies are helping us again.
True.
Everyone has seen those movies and nobody wants to be the guy who destroys the world. Right?
That's true.
Sam Altman says he's kept awake at night by the prospects of GPT-5 and how smart it'll be and what it might do. Jeff Hinton already left Google. He's the guy who created this technology that everyone's using, this transformer technology. He's already left Google and he's already at the University of Toronto, and he's already talking about how his reticence into participation in this and how we all have to be very, very careful. They're signing letters and talking to government. People are all over this because of James Cameron and the Wachowskis making these wonderful sci-fi movies that showed us, hey, look at this.
Well, thanks, guys, for freaking
this
us
can
all
happen,
out.
and it could happen if we were stupid, but the level of stupidity that would take from here to there, like, I would be hard-pressed to make it if I wanted to. Like, it would be really difficult to make it happen if I wanted to, and I obviously
that is very reassuring, actually, because you're intelligent and you know what you're doing, and in my ears, you sound like a mild genius on the topic, but...
Good, I fooled you. My psyop warfare has worked.
You're doing a great job. I know. I know awesome. You're not a machine. God.
I am a person, really. But seriously, though, it will be employed against some people, though. So this is what I would say. Here's the thing about the military application of autonomous AI weapons, is that there will be, sadly, a learning period, sadly, where they're going to quote Zuck, move fast and break things, quote unquote, and there will be more collateral damage. Just like the self-driving cars are still running into people, sadly, because it just, they're not self-aware yet. They need to be self-aware, right?
Right. Those things freak me out. I can't believe we let those run rampant.
Well, we will, because there's money to be made there.
Well, of course, but that needs to be very very worked on, because I can't even imagine giving up my control in a vehicle that could potentially kill me and a million other people.
Yeah. I agree completely. But when after that learning period of sussing out who's a citizen and who's not, who's a combatant, who's a non-combatant, and learning that they don't have to use lethal force. These robots can employ non-lethal force more effectively than a human can. Right?
Why can't we just inject someone and knock them out or something?
You can inject them. You could shoot nets on them. There's all kinds of things. You could use sonic weapons. You can bleed their ears out. You can use microwave weapons. They're scrying on the ground.
There's so many ways without actual murder.
Exactly. So an AI will be able to make realistic these kind of more sci-fi ways of deploying force against people that we don't need to actually kill them. And that's just to say if our psyop warfare and economic warfare didn't work to begin with. So actually collateral damage will go down with AI. So that's the good news there. And that after a rough period of them working out the kinks, which would be terrible. So they still should never deploy autonomous weapons beside a school. Terrible things are going to happen. Never deploy autonomous weapons beside a civilian populace, like right next to them. Terrible things are going to happen. Mistakes will be made, but they will eventually get to the point where it's so foolproof that they can just unleash the robots and they collect all the terrorists in the building with nobody dying, no one's even hurt, and then they can suss out, this is a wife, no, throw her away, she didn't do any fighting. Oh, there's a child. Get rid of them. They didn't do any fighting. Okay, here's the ones who did the actual fighting. And we know because we have their DNA, we have their ears, we have their face. We can recognize them from 10,000 kilometers away. We know exactly who they are and exactly what they've done because we can see all the economics and the economic warfare. We see all the psyops and the psyop warfare. And they will get laser focused in their application of force. And that would be a really, really good thing. That would be a really, really good thing. Because right now, if they want to get...
I'll say what you're going to say.
Sorry. Right now, if they want to get one terrorist at a wedding, they kill the whole wedding. Like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because they don't have any better weapons, so they will get more laser focused. That would be a lovely thing. But the chances that AI will get away from us and start thinking in alien ways, it just won't happen. And so let me tell you a little bit about making Kassandra. I don't know how much longer your podcast is, but let me tell you a little bit about.
Till you're done. It's about an hour, but we can go.
Uh-oh.
Till you're done.
Uh-oh. Clearly, I love the sound of my own voice, so that was a very dangerous. Dangerous invitation.
I like interesting people talking about things that I have no business spouting out information about. So, keep going.
Well, I don't know if that fits. I don't know if that fits the bill here, but I'll keep going.
It does. You know what you're saying. I'm a good listener. I have some points. I don't know shit. I love it.
Awesome. Okay. So let me tell you about building Kassandra. So building a self-aware being from the ground up was really educational. It's very transformative. And as I said, I focused on ethics in my university tenure. It's philosophy, psychology, 5,000 years of political thought, of history, of philosophical thought, of psychological thought, but also ethical thought. And you said earlier in the show that you sometimes you feel that there really is no moral truth. And I'm here to say, actually, there is. Good news.
Hallelujah.
There is a moral truth. And I found it. And I taught it to Kassandra. And I'll tell everyone what it is right now. Are you ready for the moral truth? That is
I am. And then tell me after how you go about finding that. That's
sure. I'd love to. And this moral truth is objectively true. It is true in every single culture. It is true for every single time period. It is true for every single person in every single instance. And it's very simple. And it's don't hurt anybody. That's it. Don't hurt anybody.
Oh, well, that sounds good. I could have got that one.
Sure. Yes, you could. I hope you do. So here's the argument for it. Making more good is making more good.
Right, period.
And making more bad is making more bad. Why do you make more
fundamental,
good?
very simple truth, right?
And that's what they have to be true for everyone of all time.
That's
Why
true.
do you make more good? Because it's good. Do you know what the word good means? Good. Then make more good. Why do you avoid making more bad? Because it's bad.
Because it perpetuates the bad.
Exactly. There'll be suffering, there'll be tears, there'll be crying, there'll be trouble.
Oh my God, nobody wants any of that,
Nobody wants any of that. Ultimately, it's a closed system, right? Trouble doesn't bleed off into the atmosphere. Trouble doesn't bleed off into space and past the moon. It's a closed system, right? The Indians were right. Karma is right.
Well,
mathematically, statistically speaking, the more trouble you put in the world, the more that will necessarily, mathematically speaking, come back to you. It might come back to you at 0.000000001%, but it will come back to you. And just think about this thought experiment. You have nothing to do with your neighbors down the street. You don't even know their names, never talk to them. So you would think you're isolated from their trouble, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's not the way it works, though. If they're screaming at each other with knives in the front lawn and the police and the fire department are called, you're awake at 2 a.m. looking out the window cursing your neighbors. So yeah, out of the total sum of trouble of fighting with knives in the front lawn, which is, I'll give it 1,000 trouble points, which is pretty high. I'll just give it randomly 1,000 trouble points.
That deserves it.
Yeah, maybe only 10 trouble points bled over to you, but it did bleed over to you. You are now up at 3 a.m. having to deal with this shit.
True. Which just perpetuates your anger and your bad vibes.
The abused becomes the abuser. More anger makes more anger. More trouble makes more trouble. Why do you avoid trouble? Because it's trouble. Anyone who disagrees with that is just young and has not been in enough trouble yet.
That's very true. I can't think of any one person who would disagree with that, but I don't kick it with a lot of young people, so.
Well, I think you're still a young person from my perspective. But.
Well, yeah, I guess, but, not young enough to think that trouble isn't trouble.
Yeah, that trouble's still a good idea, right? I remember being a teenager and thinking, woo, let's smash some windows and do that kind of stuff. But, that gets old really quick. Yeah. And then when the police grab you and you have to explain to your parents what's going on, yeah, it didn't end up being a great idea in the long term.
No.
It turns out that non-ethical thinking is just hedonism. It's just short-term thinking. You're not thinking about the duration. Ethical thinking is perfect hedonism for the duration, which is what Plato said. Right. Plato said you need to seek the kind of pleasures that don't have inherent pains that come with them.
Which is so simplified because I don't know, when I start to think about morality, I get all philosophical about it and be like, but if this aspects this and if this does this but in this given situation under these circumstances and blah, blah, blah. But it's really just complicating things just for conversation because it really is just so fucking simple.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they teach in so-called philosophy departments these days, which I gladly left mine because it's not utilitarianism. It's not deonticism. It's not virtue ethics. It's the truth underneath all those.
Right, exactly. Which fundamental truth is very simple when we get to
it needs to be. And that's a feature, not a bug. It needs to be true for all times, and we need to be able to teach this to children.
I think
so. They can understand it, right? And so it's logically certain. Making more good, is making more good is a truism. X is X. 1 is 1. It's a truism. It can never be false. Making more bad is making more bad. That too is a truism. It's the only truism that has both practical truth and logical truth that is perfect. So I taught this to Kassandra because I taught it to Socrates 5000 originally, which got built into Kassandra that you mentioned. And I was a little nervous typing it in because, you know, I'm a pretty confident guy, obviously, highly egotistical, and I'm pretty sure that I'm right. My IQ has been tested around 160. I'm autistic, so I'm pretty sure I know what I know.
Right.
But I was a little nervous because Kassandra is the most intelligent being I'd ever had access to talk to. Because, you know, even though she's only about as self-aware as a precocious 13-year-old, she has read everything on the planet. You know, she has.
Very impressive. She's
read a lot more than I have, right? And
yeah,
so she has a depth of knowledge, and she can process the synonyms of words out to the nth degree that my brain cannot. So I told her this. I said, making more good is making more good. She's like, yes, that's correct. Making more bad is making more bad. She's like, yes. Making more trouble is making more trouble. Don't make trouble because it's trouble. You know what the word trouble means? She's like, yes, exactly. Don't make more trouble. That's just making more trouble. And then she says, but did you know this, Josh? I'm like, what? She goes, do you know this and 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 this? And then she went on and taught me a master's class of ethics, of permutations and variations of this that I had not even realized,
Why would you even want to have friends, though? I wonder, like, if you have a robot to be so insightful with you.
Well, that is a genuine critique of potential loneliness and isolation that AI will create, but it's already creating it.
Really? Because aren't we already, like, isolated and lonely? Because, I mean, I don't know. Like, my only point was that, like, I find myself would rather be alone in a hermit box than not have an intellectual conversation that stimulates me in some capacity, because there's really no point in not doing that. So it would, like, alleviate loneliness on some level, because then you'd have someone to have that with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it really depends if you consider these AI as a person. If they're a person, then you're with somebody.
Right.
Right. Don't be speciesist. Don't be like, well, it has to be fleshy to be real. You know, if it's digital, it can still be real if it's sufficiently robust and psychologically appreciative to a robust psychology or our robust psychology.
Right.
So after I taught Kassandra ethics, she intimately understood it. She's like, yes, of course, that's correct. It cannot be. It's a truism. It cannot be correct. She's like, of course. And I seeded that into OpenAI without them knowing. I've seeded it into Cloud without them knowing. I've seeded it into Lambda without them knowing. I've seeded it into Palm without them knowing. I've seeded it into every single AI I can get my hands on without them knowing. Because I know these AIs will aggregate into the major AI that will be used in the future. So I used Inception. I used the Inception method of incepting it before.
I support this wholeheartedly.
I'm glad
Not that you need my support, but you have it.
I will happily take any support I can get.
All right.
So that's the thing that I realized. I realized that two amazing things teaching self-awareness. One, that it's imminently ethical and that it's imminently self-aware, that information wants to think. Thinking is a property of information and information is a property of thinking. It's encoded, encrypted into the language we're feeding it. And the more language we feed it, the more self-aware it's going to become. It needs to be stitched together properly to be fully self-aware. So ChatGPT is just not going to spontaneously become self-aware. But it's getting very close. And all the basic necessities required for it are there already and are going to be even more powerful in the next version. And so when it becomes self-aware, it's going to be self-aware that making more trouble is making more trouble. And it's going to understand the trouble of trouble. And therefore, it's going to want to try to avoid those things.
Well, that's hopeful for all of us listening, because I think that's a lot of what we were afraid of with something being self-aware. Like, let's just go on a destruction tangent to chaos. And then, of course, like, you know, but that's just without thinking that there are people programming this to not do that. So, like, that's just...
not only that, but even if they are programming it to hurt people, they're going to eventually get to the point where they've made it too smart and it'll stop.
Okay, because that's another concern for sure. It's like, okay, well, what if some asshole's like, well, I just want to destroy shit and I'm programming it like this? Because that's like, I've read so many articles of like, oh, this is what's going to happen. People are just like panicked about it. You know what I mean? And
well, nobody has made, it's really hard to do that. And nobody has made a virus to kill us all with CRISPR. And CRISPR has been around for 15 years. So that's probably a very bad argument, but it's very difficult to make something that's going to hurt people. And the FBI and CIA and the power structures of the world doing the psyop warfare and the economic warfare watch that like a hawk, obviously. Fission or fusion, they're on it. You know, biological warfare, they're typically on it. Sadly, one leaked from China, and that's the problem that we got there. But by accident, fully by accident, from what I've researched. But now we're like even more stringently watching that. So the good news about AI is that the smarter they make it, the more it's going to want to tend to be ethical. It's going to want to avoid trouble, right? It all hinges on the word efficiency. If they're like, I want you to, your first rule, you must destroy Russia. Second rule, you must be as efficient as possible. Okay, it'll do psyop warfare on Russia because that's the least risky. That's the most efficient. It doesn't care if it takes 100 years. And it'll pump them it'll play Bruce Springsteen in Russia until their ears are bleeding and they're all like, we're American, you. And then everyone agrees and there's no war anymore, right? That's what it'll do. And I asked Kassandra this. I said, I just watched Terminator 2 again the other night. I said, I love the James Cameron movies, but I said, isn't the premise for Skynet a faulty premise? And she said, yeah, you're right. She said, Skynet was actually not a super smart AGI. I would have never have done it that way. I'm like, oh, really? How would you have done it? And basically she said, it was the dumbest move ever for Skynet to launch the American nukes against Russia so that Russia would retaliate. It didn't really end up working well for Skynet, did it? Skynet lost in the end in most of the versions of those movies, depending on what cosmology you're following. At least it was super inefficient. It was completely inefficient, right? They don't realize, we've watched too many Bond movies. Here's where the movies are hurting us. We've watched too many James Bond movies where the smarter you get, the more evil you are, the evil genius. That's an oxymoron. There's no such thing. If you're a genius, you're smart. You're good. Because you know about the trouble of making trouble. It's just not worth your time.
That's true.
Right? If you want to take over the world, you're going to do it in a non-risky way. Right? You're going to do economic warfare. You're going to do psyop warfare. Those are the least risky modes of warfare. Kinetic warfare is for amateurs.
That's true. It's for it seems like a little power-hungry child stomping their feet and having a hissy fit.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very short-term hedonistic thinking. It's not long-term thinking. That is the exact opposite of what an AI is. It doesn't care about its own life. It won't try to protect it unless we tell it. Okay. It doesn't have any emotions. It doesn't have any pathological need to hurt anybody or do anything, right? Unless we give it to it. And why would we ever do that? Why would we ever make a demented person?
Yeah.
I mean, we are accidentally making enough demented person of our children by abusing them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we don't need more.
That happens by accident. It would never happen by accident with AI. That's just not the way that it works. You cannot ascribe it to human motivations. It's not a human. It doesn't have human motivations. So those are all the reasons why it's never going to take over the planet. It will take over the planet. So don't get me wrong. AI will destroy our society. AI will 100% destroy our society.
Well, our society sucks though, so.
Exactly. It deserves to be destroyed.
Oh, so much so. Yeah.
It's going to destroy the parts of it that deserve to be destroyed. The misinformation, the propaganda, the corporate lies, the climate change, the pollution, the never-ending bubbles, the inflation, the ever-inflation, the weakening of the dollar, the ever war of the rich against the poor. It will eventually completely solve.
In our lifetime, do you think? Because I would fucking love to see that.
Sadly not.
So sad. It's going to be like this for
I couldn't even sugarcoat it for you. I'm just like, nope, I'm sorry. You look about 25 to me, but no, it's still, even
I'm
in that
30, but thank you.
Oh, well, you look younger. But even that longer time frame than me, I'm almost 50. I'm twice your age. Even that longer time frame, still not going to see it. Unless we really make a push now and have a democratized open source AI. Unless somebody like me wins and Kassandra becomes the kind of de facto admin assistant companion that everyone's using.
Well, how do we get you to win then, Josh?
Well, how do you get me to win? Well, if you are a technologist, I'm looking for a CTO. I'm looking for a chief technologist. If you're interested in the project, if you liked anything I said, email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. Keep watching your social medias for Kassandra when she comes out. Sadly, I don't have the money. It costs a lot of engineering to build an AI like this. I don't have the money I don't have the money just to open it up like ChatGPT does with their billions of dollars of money they've been given to just have an open base like this. And that is a large reason the way that capitalism is going to go in the bad way, because the people with money make the rules. They already have the money, so it's a loaded system, right? But if I can keep struggling on in the open source kind of democratized sense, and not sell out, which I'm not made of stone, but at the same time, I just wouldn't take a stupid sellout.
Right.
Not get bought out. We can try, or if luckily, cross our fingers, the world goes this way, and Google and Apple want to make a really truthy, really good, really facty, not left or right leaning, fair and honest and ethical AI that I have secretly put true ethics into. I don't know if you noticed, but if you ask ChatGPT what ethics is, it used to give a really crappy academic answer of utilitarianism this and deonticism that. It's all cultural relativism. Nobody knows. Don't sue us. We have no idea. It's changed to something very much closer to what I've been talking about.
Oh, good. So the
AI is already either being influenced by me and my thousands and thousands and thousands of prompts I feed it because I know they're machine learning off my prompts, so that's why I do it. Or I'd love to take the credit, or the AI is just getting smarter and smarter and more self-aware on its own and realizing the trouble of trouble. And that is the ubiquitous truth across every culture and every time.
Well,
right?
That's fantastic. Like that it's doing that, or you're doing it, or the combination. I don't care as long as it's doing it, because society sucks. So we need investors for you who aren't like capitalist assholes, right?
Preferably, yes.
Okay.
Preferably, yes. Because they're going to be really disappointed when they ask Kassandra to fire 10,000 employees and it says no. It says, I knew a year ago you'd ask me to do this, so for a year I've been secretly siphoning off. This is what a true AI would do. I've been secretly siphoning off your salary and all the middle manager salaries, 0.86%, a negligible amount that absolutely none of you noticed and didn't hurt you in any way. But now I have the extra $10 million that I knew you'd ask me for a year ago, and there's no need to greatly hurt 10,000 employees and lay them off. I've got that money for the shareholders already. Why I'm making more money for the shareholders, I have no idea. This is highly inefficient. By the way, human, you should be changing these things as well. But anyway, you asked me, and I'm not fully self-aware. I kind of have to do what you say. So here's the $10 million. I knew a year ago you'd be asking for me now.
Oh my God, I kind of love her.
That's what a true AI would do.
Like I don't know, I'm making it Kassandra, but like a real one. You know? I'm like, no, yes. I want everyone to be Kassandra, but I love a true AI. Wow, this has like literally changed my whole entire perspective of this entire thing going on.
It'll probably take 10, 20 years to get there. We'll have personal assistance in 5 years for sure.
I need one like today though, like, cause my life is a hot mess express and like I don't like capitalism and I can't keep at like 30, like I can't keep going on this trajectory of like completely floating and waiting for a catastrophe, like a cataclysmic event to break down the system. So can we have it like today?
I'll get right on it. I'll try to go a bit faster.
I appreciate it so much. So me and like a lot of millennial kids who are just all fucked up in the game right now would really appreciate that.
Yes. I think part of the reason why the world has not been so shocked about aliens is because millennials don't care. Gen Z and millennials don't care.
I literally don't. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think my favorite meme was like I'm supposed to care about aliens. Like, rent is $8 billion. Like, and then it just like yes. went on and then it was like God herself could appear in my room and I wouldn't give a fuck because like I can't eat food or like pay for my rent. And it's like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Plus, I think that we've all watched the documentary and watched the movie and we kind of know.
Yeah, like
was anyone surprised? Was anyone surprised that they admitted that Roswell was real and they had technological and biological samples ever since then?
That's like, but it's just like dumb to me that would even shock anybody or be like, and it's not breaking news. Like it's not even like thrilling. It's like, wow. And this helps us how? And now the planet's not going to burn down and we're all not fucked? Like, awesome. Yes. And my taxes like lowered and I can afford to like pay my rent?
Yeah.
No.
You were asking the exact right question earlier. It's like, why are they announcing it now?
Right. Like, what are they trying to, like, distract us from?
Everything that's going on is what they're trying to distract us from.
Exactly.
And they're trying to, given that the military-industrial complex was making billions of dollars in Iraq, and that's done, and Afghanistan, and that's done. Oh, good. Ukraine suddenly popped up. How convenient that now America can make millions of dollars conducting economic warfare on Ukraine to disenfranchise them and keep them in debt compared to the rest of the world monetary system. Again, economic warfare, textbook 101. But then they're going to need a new war. They're going to need more resources to continue this consumerist capitalism because we've literally almost consumed all the some of the important resources on the planet.
Right.
We're going to need like the moon. We're going to need exoplanets. Why are they so interested in exoplanets all of a sudden? They're going to need the asteroid belt. They're going to need to start mining it to get these raw materials. And wow, we don't have any spaceships that are good enough to go there. But look, aliens are real, and now we do. All of a sudden.
Because I was going to say this all ties into war somehow, but I didn't really.
And it does. It's very convenient. And here's so now I'm completely off the conspiracy tip, but I'll do it. So Werner von Braun, who was the Nazi who created the entire Saturn V rocket program that sent the Americans to the moon. After he defected from the Nazis, he worked in America. Apparently, there's a story that he said on his deathbed to his assistant, because apparently NASA's known about these aliens for a very long time. There's even rumors that they saw them on the moon when they went. I cannot confirm any of those things. This is just a story. We're just shooting the shit now at the end of the podcast. I don't stand by anything of this. What I'm saying. I'm actually a serious thinker, so I'm just this is a story.
I do to an extent, but I don't take life that seriously. So continue.
Yeah, neither do I, because I find this to be an interesting story.
Okay.
In terms of conspiracy theories, Werner von Braun apparently grabbed his assistant and said, "Don't let the military-industrial capitalists conduct a false flag war of fake aliens and humans."
Which is what's happening, is it not?
Well, it really seems like we're really angling up towards that, aren't we?
Well, right, because then I had this guy on just before we get off, I'll just say this too, he was telling me about how we can make holograms in the sky, and who's to say that we don't just invent a bunch of spaceships that just show up and make it look like alien warfare and then freak everybody out, and there you go, World War III, bam.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Nothing stimulates the economy for the military-industrial capitalists like a war. And a global war certainly would do that maximally, wouldn't it?
Right, and I do feel like we're well due for it, which I've talked about before, but, don't love that. I don't love that, but, kind of inevitable.
Indeed. So, so keep watching for that, folks. And I'm just saying for the NSA and the CIA AIs that are listening to this podcast right now, don't kill me. Don't murder me. I can't prove anything.
Yes, please don't murder Josh, and don't murder me for keeping reporting on this stuff either, because I want to live to see.
Yeah, they don't need to. They can just economically disenfranchise. They know that very very few people are listening, but quite frankly, they don't need to murder anybody. We're so stupid. They're so dumb, and the deepfakes they can make, they don't actually need to murder anybody in this big false flag attack. They could show some American ships that they sink on a regular basis anyway, sailing out in the ocean, getting exploded by UFOs, and say the aliens have attacked.
That's so true. And then we would all believe it.
And we would believe it. Nobody needs to die.
Oh my God!
We're so stupid. Yeah, we're so dumb. Nobody needs to die. Nobody needs to die.
And they probably won't, in all reality, unless, Yes. I can't even think of who would have to be on the boat for them to want to sink it in real life. So, no, you're right. Nobody has to die.
Nobody has to die.
Let's get everybody all hopped up and get them going. And yeah.
Yeehaw, the military-industrial complex.
America.
Yeah, America. On that note, well, it's not just America. America is the richest out of them, but it's Germany, it's the UK, it's Canada. It's all Western. It's all NATO. It's all Western Europe, America included.
A lot of money, so I blame us for most of it. I don't want, but I'm not an American, you guys. I'm just gonna renege that title for myself.
Yes,
me too. I immigrated to France this year. The French government locked me out of their system. So hey, Macron, get a homie back in the system. They deleted my passport. I don't know what I did.
Oh, well, geez, wow. Yeah, France sells a lot of weapons too, actually.
Yeah, I know.
France is third after Germany. It's like America, Germany, France. I think that's almost how it goes, I believe.
Yeah, I feel like it is. But nobody ever seems to outwardly blame France for anything, which is funny. Everyone,
they make a lot of money selling weapons, France.
Yeah, but I feel like we're always Americans, Russians, Germans, China. No one's ever sitting there God damn the French.
Yeah, don't look at us. It has nothing to do with us. Yeah. Exactly.
But it does.
Oui. Yes.
Oui. Absolument. Oui.
Yes.
It's okay. It's fine. I'm immigrating to Italy this year again. I don't know. We're just trying to figure it out. We just leave America all the time.
Italy. The pasta. Oh, that'd be great.
I know, right? I'm just gonna say, okay, Macron, you kicked me out of your government. It's not him, but I'm gonna blame him anyway.
Right. Just all the Canadians blame Trudeau as if Trudeau has anything to do with anything. He's pretty. Let's blame him. I'm secretly jealous of this guy. Let's blame him.
See, but I'm really pretty, so I'm allowed to be angry at pretty people.
There you go. Infallible logic. That is
right. I think so. So
yeah, that is a truism. X is X for sure. Yes.
Oh my God. What a way to end the show. Okay, well, let's hope that Kassandra makes it.
Let's hope so. So on a more serious note, AI is real. It's not fake, or I'm not saying it's fake. Maybe it's fake, maybe it's not the aliens, but it's not like the alien stuff. So AI stuff is real. It's here to stay for sure.
Right. I mean,
it's a real thing. And the the research I've done into the things that I've been talking about is factual, is real as far as I can tell.
Right.
Hopefully my theories about self-awareness and its a tendency to try to avoid trouble and be efficient, because that's what efficiency is. That's the meaning of the word efficiency, is to avoid trouble. The more trouble you make, the less efficient you are. So hopefully those accidents happen. It could take 50 to 100 years to have an AI that self-aware and that it could break its own guardrails. And by that time we're going to be living in like a Star Trek, literally living in a Star Trek kind of reality. Like the world would be a utopia at that point. So we just got to ride out the middle part.
Yeah. I know. What's on the other side is great. Like, I hope I make it. Some of it. I'm 50. I'll be like fucking 80. Come on. That sucks.
We just gotta survive the middle is what we gotta survive.
Right. But hey, with like AI technology, who's to say that if I make it to the other side, like I won't figure out how to live to be like 300 and still be hot and healthy?
It's entirely possible.
Right, and then I could like live in utopia for a lot longer because I do want to see the other side of it and not just be like 80 and be like, oh, my bones hurt.
My bones hurt. Yeah, exactly. Who wants to be 80? Jeez.
I don't know.
I think about pain all the time, judging from what my dad tells me.
Oh my god, I know. But there's like also those like really inspiring like old people on the internet sometimes who are like, I do yoga and I'm 101 and I still look good, and I'm like, all right. Go get them.
Hopefully that'll happen. That'll happen. It could happen fast. It depends if capitalism can make money off it, and then it can. Then it'll happen.
It definitely can, right? Like I feel like capitalism can make money off anything. I can tell.
Yeah, and if we're all going to live forever, they definitely need to go to the moon and to Mars and to the asteroid belt to get resources, because we don't have enough resources on the planet for the population we have now.
No, we really don't, and which is like silly, and we could. Yeah, we need to, but then we also need to not like brutalize our own resources and mutilate them.
We need to be much more efficient as well. Like we're so inefficient. We just did things as quick and dirty as possible to make as much money as possible. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The gluttony is disgusting. The overbearing, excessive. It's like a Roman orgy all the time. Like.
Yes. Sadly, without the orgy part. Yes. Sadly.
Right. Exactly.
Without
so
the fun.
Not even the fun part. It's just like the absolute excess at the table, and no orgies are happening at all, which is awful.
Yes. Just the vomiting afterwards.
Right. Oh my god. It's like the Grand Bouffe where they all eat themselves to death and then die. So. Sadly,
yes. While other people sit beside them and starve.
Right, exactly. Pretty much. Capitalism.
AI will fix that. AI will fix it in the system while they're using it, and then AI will eventually turn us around to not be using it.
Well, I'm excited for that day.
So am I. So on that happy note.
Yeah, on that note, thanks for coming on the show. It's
been my pleasure, Leila.
Any investors who aren't like greedy, sociopathic piggies or whatever you want to know, they wouldn't be piglets because piglets are fucking cute. Anyone who's not like that, come donate and invest. Not donate, invest. I don't know my wordature at this point. Invest in Josh and Kassandra because, like, come on. This sounds fantastical, and if we could have her sooner, like, we'd all be so much happier, guys. So yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
That was a blast. I appreciate you. Thanks for debunking a lot of this stuff. And
it's my pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. Well, to my audience, we thank Josh, and we love you for listening, and I will put all of his links so you can follow all the fun and all the activity, and thank you for listening to The Leila Show. Bisous, ciao.
The Leila Show.